Yeah.
3, 4.
Uh,
We're here. Okay. Let me call the City Commission virtual meeting to order of June 9th, 2020. And I'm going to request that the clerk call the roll.
Mayor Weissman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
here.
Commissioner Landman,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Here.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Here.
Commissioner Narosky,
I'm here.
Commissioner Shelley,
Here.
Mr. Wasson,
Here.
and Mr. Wolpen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. This meeting shall be held in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 2020-69, extended through Executive Orders 20-112, 20-123, and 20-139. Because of COVID-19 and the need to ensure the public health, safety, and welfare, this meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom. Due to the ongoing state of emergency and the recommendations from all public health authorities, the City of Aventura recommends that all persons view and participate in the meeting through electronic means. Members of the public have been directed on how to access the meeting through the agenda posted online and at the Government Center. Members of the public will be able to provide comments via audio when the item is open to public comment. The city clerk will provide directions on how to participate when the item is opened for public comment. With that said, before the pledge, I would like us all just to take a moment to reflect our support of the police along with our support of peaceful protest. Okay, if we can stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we have to do that. I pledge allegiance
to the
To the
flag
flag of the United States of America
States of America.
and to the republic for which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
One
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty and
and
justice
justice for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the city manager if there are any requests for deletions or emergency additions to the agenda.
Not at this time, Mayor.
Then not at any other time tonight either. There are no special presentations, and I'm going to ask if any member of the commission would like to remove an item from the consent agenda. Seeing that no one would like to remove.
Yes, Mayor, I have my hand up.
uh,
I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah, so do I.
City manager. Okay, can you please tell me what, Commissioner Dr. Marks, what item?
Item N, please.
And who else, and Commissioner Shelley?
Item I.
Okay, then. Let's see. If I can do this, I'm going to ask for a motion for the approval of the consent agenda with the exception of items I and N.
You have a motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Attorney Wolpen,
Yes, Mayor.
am I proceeding in the correct fashion?
Yes, you are.
I have
Yes,
a
you are.
motion and a second for the consent agenda with the exception of I and N.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman? Yes. Commissioner Dr. Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg?
Yes.
Mayor Weissman?
Yes, whoever's got something ringing, they need to mute the phone or turn it off. Okay, I need now, and I'm just going to go in the order as they appear on the consent agenda for continuity. I'm going to ask for someone to make a motion for item number I to be brought to the floor. Motion made by Commissioner Shelley. I need a second. Seconded by Commissioner Landman. I'm going to turn the item over to Commissioner Shelley.
Just 1 second, Mayor, if I may.
Yes,
I'd like to just read the resolution title, if I may.
go right ahead.
Thank you. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute the attached Fourth Amendment to the agreement between the City of Aventura and the Performing Arts Center Authority for management, programming, and operational support services for the Aventura Arts and Cultural Center, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this resolution and providing for an effective date.
Should I speak now?
I could not hear anything that David said. It comes
Okay,
in
I'm
and
sorry.
out. So Commissioner Shelley, go right ahead.
All right. In the past, I know we used to get a report come to us at a workshop about the results from the previous year on how the theater did, how the management contract did. And this year we haven't had that update. And I know we're renewing it, and my understanding is they do an excellent job. So possibly, City Manager, could you give us an update on how the year wound up with them, or how that past contract year was, what they make, how they, I'd like to hear a little bit about the results of the year with their management, because we usually get that report from them at a workshop, but we didn't get one this year.
They did.
Actually, they were going to do that report. It was going to be scheduled at a workshop. But I can tell you right now, they faced the COVID crisis and had to slowly shut down their performances. So basically the last few months, they have not been operating. So any subsidies that we would have given to them for expenses over revenues for any shows that they had booked and now had canceled, we obviously don't have to pay that. We're looking at this agreement takes us past into the next 3 years with the Broward, the center. We're hoping that as the COVID emergency either passes or gets better, or depending on how it goes, we're hoping that they will start to book and maybe get more, we'll have shows booked back there again. But I think we're planning on it to be a slow go in the beginning, depending, because I think a lot of the patrons of the center tend to be a little bit older. So they would be, people we'd want to be very careful about. So,
But Ron, with it shut down now, I guess what I'm asking, do we have any expenses that we
just the
normally
management
would be
fee.
reimbursed? No, let me finish. That we might have been reimbursed for if there was a show that isn't, because obviously I know we subsidize the theater. Is that subsidy increasing now because of what's going on?
No.
One
No,
second, City Manager and I looked into this today. Please
Oh.
share with them the amount of money that we are going to
We
save.
should save, if in a half year, we subsidize them to the tune of $115,000 a year. It's been like that for a long time. So just backtracking to when the emergency started, the subsidy would be basically cut off at that point. They don't need the personnel to, that's what the subsidy really goes to. And they reduced their employees by one who, they had one full-timer that resigned and went to, I believe, Arizona. They haven't replaced that person. So we are saving money on that end. I don't know exactly how much it's going to be. I think we'll know more towards the end of the year.
Okay,
But I would say at least
Manager,
50.
you told me today it would be over 50.
It would be, yeah, I was going to say, it was going to be probably over 50,000.
Thank you.
Commissioner Landman.
So, good question, Bob. Thank you for bringing this up. And I know that they have scheduled some performances like the Family Fun series because I purchased the package. So, I mean, obviously, things, I'm hopeful that they'll be able to, carry out those shows or whatever. But I think they do have some programming in place, obviously tentative, but I think they have like a calendar of events, correct?
Right now, as far as I know, most things have been pretty much stopped at this point, or maybe they're to be determined. I wish I could give you a better answer than that.
But we can find out and get back.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, you can find out and get back. Commissioner Mizrahi, your hand was up.
Yes, Ron, do you know, some of the movie theaters are doing special provisions like taking some chairs out to be ready for when they open. Are we doing something like that in the theater?
I don't think our theater would be conducive to that. I think we would have to just do spacing where you'd have to space everybody out and, maybe skip a row and then have jump seats. There's a way to do that, but it would be very hard to remove seats out of the theater.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other discussion on item I? Okay, then I'm going to, and I think, Mr. Attorney, since they're separate items, I'm going to ask the city clerk for a roll call vote on item I.
That's correct. Thank you.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Naronsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
You're muted, Howard.
I didn't hear you, Howard.
I said yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
And Mayor Weissman.
yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. That brings us to item N. I'm going to ask the city attorney to read the item.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, condemning bias and discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, and religion. Further directing the city clerk to transmit a copy of this resolution to the officials named herein and providing for an effective date.
Right?
Mayor, I can't hear you.
I can't hear anybody.
I think it was
That's
just
why this
quiet.
Zoom isn't such a great format, but I'm assuming that the city attorney read it.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, then I need a motion to approve the item.
I'll make that motion.
Made by Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks, seconded by Commissioner Shelley. I'm going to ask Dr. Marks if she'd like to speak to the item.
I would like to speak to the item, Mayor. Thank you. I think it's the situation that has gone on for the last several weeks and watching someone die right in front of us, and obviously discrimination has been brought to the forefront yet again, and it's certainly gone on for years and years and years and years. I think that I'm so proud of our particular city in this resolution, because the beginning of the resolution includes the city employees, the entire commission, and our chief of police and the entire police department. And so I just wanted to point out that it is so heartening to have that type of unity to really support people to stop discriminating against others.
They can't hear me.
I can hear you, Mayor.
Can you?
Hear you, Mayor.
Because
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
anyone. Maybe I need to reboot.
Can you hear me now? I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, I can hear you now, but I couldn't hear a thing Linda said.
I can hear you. Mayor.
All right, let's keep going, and if it works, it works.
So
I don't
do you
know.
want me, Mayor,
I
do you
don't
want
know
me?
if we're finished or not.
I was, yes, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to talk to the item? Then I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, we're now moving into item 6 on our agenda, our zoning hearings, the quasi-judicial public hearing, and I'm going to request the city attorney to read the procedures for the quasi-judicial hearings.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 of those quasi-judicial hearings this evening. The statement that's placed on the agenda is incorporated in the record. I will read it briefly at this time. Please be advised that the following items on the commission's agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to object or comment upon any of these items, please inform the mayor. She requests public comments. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each of the 3 items. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you refuse either to be cross-examined or to be sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the commission to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to request the clerk to swear in those wishing to offer testimony on items 6A, 6B, and 6C.
I need you to raise your right hand and be sworn in at this time. If you are an applicant for items 6A, 6B, or 6C, if you're representing an applicant, or if you are a member of the public and you wish to be sworn in at this time, I need you to tap your screen to raise your hand. If you're on a phone, you need to press *9 and be sworn in at this time. I'm just going to give everybody a second to raise their hands. You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, and I guess that takes care of all of them.
Right, that's correct. Takes care of
Okay.
the oaths for all 3.
Great. Then I'm going to request the city attorney to read the resolution for item A.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, granting conditional use approval to allow the sale and service of alcoholic beverages at a cocktail lounge bar area within the Girana restaurant located at 19505 Biscayne Boulevard, Suite E150, in the Esplanade at Aventura Development, City of Aventura, and providing for an effective date.
Can I please have a motion for approval of this resolution made by Commissioner Shelley, seconded by Commissioner Narowski? I'm going to request the Community Development Director, Joanne Carr, to please present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been sworn in. I would like to enter the staff report into the record. The applicant, Aventura Parawana LLC, operating as Girana Restaurant, is requesting conditional use approval to sell and serve alcoholic beverages at a cocktail lounge bar area within the restaurant at 19505 Biscayne Boulevard, Suite E150, in the Esplanade at Aventura Development, notwithstanding the distance and spacing requirements of Section 4-2A and B of the City Code. Staff is recommending approval of the application with conditions. The applicant is proposing to open the Girana restaurant in the Esplanade at Aventura Development that is currently under construction adjacent to the Aventura Mall. The restaurant has 5,319 square feet of indoor floor area and 132 indoor seats. The city code requires a minimum of 2,500 square feet of interior floor area and 150 interior seats to meet the exception criteria for cocktail lounges and bars within full-service restaurants. This restaurant does meet the minimum floor area, but not the number of seats. Therefore, conditional use approval is required. A location plan and a rendering of the interior of the restaurant are attached to the staff report. The liquor survey submitted with the application and attached to the staff report shows 6 establishments within 1,500 feet that are not exceptions. All have received conditional use approval from the City Commission, 1 religious facility, and 1 school within 2,500 feet. Public notice has been published, posted, and mailed in accordance with Section 3171 of the City Code, and no public comments have been received. Staff has evaluated the request using the criteria for approval of conditional uses in Section 3173C of the City Code and finds that the application does meet those criteria. Staff therefore recommends approval of the application with all of the conditions listed in the staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does the applicant have any comments?
If you are representing the applicant, I need you to raise your hand at this time and I will allow you to speak. Joanne, can you clarify, is it Adrienne Noto that will be speaking on this item?
Yes, that's correct.
And what about Soraya Raposo?
Not aware of that name. That may be the owner.
Okay.
This is Adrienne. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Adrienne Noto with the law firm of Greenspoon Martyr on behalf of the applicant Aventura Peruana LLC, who will be operating Girana Restaurant as Joanne just explained. Our client is in the process of building out this restaurant space, and we are here tonight seeking approval to sell and serve alcoholic beverages at the cocktail lounge bar, which will have 5 seats. And the applicant is in agreement with all of the conditions as proposed by staff, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any members of the commission that have any questions or comments? Commissioner Narodsky.
I was just curious as to when it's expected to open.
There's a little bit of a delay with the construction just with the current situation. So once that, I think they're planning hopefully by the beginning to, spring of next year is the plan right now.
What type of restaurant is it?
It's a Peruvian restaurant.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
I do have a question, and I think, Joanne, you said that the conditional use was because it was going to be a smaller number of seats.
That's correct, Mayor. Our city code requires 150 interior seats, and this restaurant has 132 seats.
Okay, and my concern is hopefully we will be over with COVID, but from all reports, it will rear its ugly head again. And I'm just thinking about the wisdom of having less than what our code requires in terms of seats and what happens in light of other orders that would be given for health reasons.
The number of seats is not a required number. It's a required number for the restaurant per se. It's a required number of seats to meet that special exception criteria in our alcoholic beverage code. So they could have, if it was a full service restaurant, without a cocktail bar or lounge, and they had 50 seats, that would get the exception. They need this exception because they have a cocktail lounge within the restaurant that does not meet the number of seats provided by the code. If that helps.
Vice Mayor Weinberg.
Thank you. Joanne, we have granted similar in the past, correct?
Correct.
How about Sicilian Pizza Pizza Oven? Is that one of those similar?
That's one of them, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I'm going to open the item for public comment and request that the city clerk review the procedures for members of the public to provide comments.
If you'd like to provide a comment on this item, please press your screen or your smartphone or click in order to show a raise hand icon and raise your hand at this time to be heard. If you're on a phone, please press *9. I'm not seeing anybody who wishes to make a comment on this item, Mayor.
Okay, then I'm going to close this item for public comment, and I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narotsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'm going to request the city attorney to read resolution for item B.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, granting conditional use approval pursuant to Section 31-144C2I of the City Code for an increased height of 12 stories or 200 feet, where the City Code permits maximum height of 12 stories or 120 feet. Granting conditional use approval pursuant to Section 31-144C2M of the City Code to permit a floor area ratio of 1.99, where the City Code permits a maximum floor area ratio of 1.61 for the development of an office and bank building located at 3050 Aventura Boulevard in the city, providing for recordation and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion for approval of the resolution? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I need a motion for approval of the resolution, or it
I make
fails
a
for lack
motion.
of a motion. Motion made by Commissioner Shelley. Yes?
Yes, and seconded by.
And seconded by
Commissioner-
Commissioner Mizrahi. Who's? Okay. I'm going to request the Community Development Director, Joanne Carr, to present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been sworn in. I would like to enter the staff report into the record. The applicant, 3050 Aventura Owner LLC, is requesting conditional use approval to permit a building height of 12 stories or 200 feet and a floor area ratio of 1.99 for a proposed LEED Gold office bank building at 3050 Aventura Boulevard, excuse me, at the southwest corner of Aventura Boulevard and West Country Club Drive. Staff is recommending approval of the application with conditions. This site is a 1.32 acre parcel that currently contains a 3-story building with Safra Bank and offices. Location plan is attached to the staff report. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing building and construct a LEED Gold certified 814 square foot, 12-story, 200-foot tall building with a 2-story, 44.5 foot tall ground floor entry level, 14.5 foot tall office spaces on floors 3 through 8, 16-foot tall bank space on floors 9 through 11, and a 20.5 foot tall VIP lounge on the 12th level, along with a rooftop terrace for bank customers with planters, seatings, and water features. So it is the 12 stories, but it is 200 feet because of the very tall levels that are proposed. The building is a unique metal and glass inverted pyramid shape. It is located in the southerly portion of the lot to minimize disturbance to neighboring the condominium to the north. There are 334 parking spaces in 3 underground parking levels and 43 spaces on the ground level. The underground levels will be accessed through a ramp at the westerly limit of the site. The ramp and all the ground floor mechanical equipment will be covered by a metal structure wrapped by a green wall, and the building rendering is attached to the staff report in the agenda. There are 2 existing driveways, one to and from Aventura Boulevard, and the other to and from West Country Club Drive. The driveways will remain in the same location. The driveway on West Country Club Drive will be revised from 2-way to 1-way in only. And the site development plan is attached to the staff report. Administrative site plan review is underway. The development complies with the site development criteria of the B2 zoning district, with the exception of the height and floor area ratio. A maximum height of 12 stories or 120 feet is permitted. However, uses that exceed the height limitations up to a maximum of 20 stories or 200 feet may be approved as a conditional use. A maximum floor area ratio of 1.61 is permitted for a 12-story building, but for buildings that attain LEED Gold or Platinum certification, increased floor area ratio not to exceed 2.0 may be approved as a conditional use. Public notice has been published, posted, and mailed in accordance with Section 3171 of the City Code. To date, staff has received a request for plans from the neighboring residential condominium board, and along with comments related to access and site drainage. We've received a letter of objection and a request for the complete file from the condominium attorney. Comments from one owner related to sun shadow, and comments from 2 other owners related to a number of items, that is sun shadow, sun glare, blocking of view, noise from mechanical equipment, flying debris from the rooftop terrace, and increased traffic and street noise. The applicant's representatives are here to address those comments following my presentation. Staff has analyzed the conditional use approval requests using the criteria in Section 3173C of the City Code and finds that the application does meet those criteria. Staff is therefore recommending approval of the application with the following conditions. The first is that the plans submitted for permitting comply with the plans submitted with this application, that building permits be obtained within 12 months of the date of this approval, with one extension of 6 months upon request by the applicant. Any discontinuation of the approved conditional use for a period of 180 consecutive days will constitute an abandonment and rescind the approval. Prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall enter into and record in the public records an agreement and covenant to fulfill all requirements of the city's green building program, and that includes providing performance security in the amount of 5% of the estimated cost of construction to guarantee attainment of the LEED Gold certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. Submit and receive approval from the city manager of a job site plan, and that includes where construction material and workers' vehicles and just exactly how the job site will operate before they get a permit. Prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy or temporary certificate of occupancy, the applicant will be required to provide an as-built survey and an elevation certificate to the city, and provide evidence of compliance with the city code section regarding public safety radio system protection. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Now, let me ask if the applicant has any comments. Do we have an applicant?
Yes, Mickey Marrero is coming on. Mickey, is there anybody else from your office or from representing the applicant that I need to bring over at this time?
Yes, Robert Harrison should be raising his hand. He was with Fosters and Partners.
Okay, anybody else?
That's it for now.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanne, Madam Mayor, members of the commission. First of all, I know you can't see me, but I'm happy to see you all, and I'm glad you're all doing well. And first, I want to thank you all for taking the extraordinary effort to hear these applications in this setting. We understand that it's a little awkward, but we're anxious to have these projects moving forward, and hopefully we can get that happening. First, I want to introduce my client who's listening to this hearing. They're Safra Bank. They're a leading international private bank with headquarters in New York. They've had an office in Aventura at this location since 2008 and several other locations throughout the world. They're very excited to be bringing this extraordinary piece of architecture into the city. They've spared no expense, except for their lawyers, of course, but all their other consultants are top of the line. They've hired Fosters and Partners, which is really the preeminent architecture firm. Rob will be humble, but I will speak on his behalf. He's really one of the most outstanding architects in the world, and they've designed what we hope to be a really iconic building in the city of Aventura that's going to be pictured in international architecture magazines and books. With that, I would like, and I want to just reiterate Joanne's comments. We do agree with all staff's conditions and her presentation, and I'd like to reserve some time at the end, but I'd like to pass it to Rob so he can address really some of the highlights of the architecture and some of the concerns raised by our neighbors. And when he concludes, I would like to just conclude our presentation, which will be relatively brief. Thank you all so much. And with that, I would turn it over to Rob.
That is fine.
Thank you, Mickey. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for giving me the time to address you from London. It's a first for me to do a virtual presentation. I hope you can all hear me satisfactorily.
Perfectly.
It's an honor to address the hearing today, and as Mickey has explained, I'm the architect for this project. I'm representing both the Foster and Partner team, our client organization, and the wider consultants who have collaborated with us on this project. I'm very proud to make this proposal for the city of Aventura. I have been working on the design of this with my team for the last 16 months. We all believe that it is a unique building, a landmark building, and that it will be, if granted, a beautiful addition to the neighborhood. It's unlike any other building that I've been involved with, and I believe that reflects the input that our team have had. And I have to say, the inspiration of our client, who's been probably my harshest critic as we've been evolving the design, as harsh a critic as I've had from anybody, but it is made for a more robust design and a far better, more brilliantly detailed building than we would have had otherwise. I do believe that of the many buildings that our office have put together, I think this will stand as being a piece of architectural sculpture. It's a perfectly functioning building, but it will be a beautiful piece of architectural sculpture, and I think you can see that from the renderings that you've had. It really is a piece in its own right. As Director Joanne Carr has already explained, we are targeting LEED Gold for the building, so it will set new standards in both architectural quality, but also in its progressive response to the environment. I would like to address some of the comments that have been raised by the Buena Vida Condominium Association. They fall into three primary elements. The first of those is to do with the basement design. We will be employing a deep soil mix for the plug, the piece that sits at the very base of the foundation and provides effectively the watertight bottom to the foundation in order to create a bathtub in the site. It's an established, well-known and highly effective solution. It's been done many times in the Florida area. It's been done in locations which are right next to the coast. We have the advantage of being some distance away from it. The advantages that it has are that there is no excavation involved during its installation. There is no dewatering that's required. There is no vibration that occurs. It's very low noise, and it creates a completely watertight bathtub with all of the foundation structure inherent to it, so that once formed, it's then possible to excavate the soil, the spoil out of the site, leaving you with a dry basement construction. The next item I would like to come on to is the sun study. First thing I would note is the building has been pulled back as far to the south as it can be. So it is as far away from our neighbour, the condominium, to the residential condominium to the north. It's as far away from them as it can be. We have looked at extensive solar analysis, we've done stereographic sky analysis, and we've done shadow studies. And our conclusion shows that the condominium, the residential condominium, receives no overshadowing due to the proposed building. The residents' pool area on the south of their building receives minimal shadowing in the morning, during or around the solstice, the winter solstice period. So during December, there is a minimal amount of shadowing that occurs on the pool area. I would note, and if you have access to a Google map of the site, I would note that if you look at a similar time of year in the winter time, you will see that the existing trees around our neighbouring property already cast considerably greater shadow than the shadow that would be cast by the proposed building if there were no obstructions, if there were no other trees in the way. I'd also like to briefly address solar glare. The form of the building, as you will have seen, the very sculptural nature of the building with its inclined facades, it naturally directs reflected solar incidence, reflected sunlight, down towards the ground area. It is not throwing it directly back. I would also note that the residence building is due north of where we are, and there is a very small percentage of the time when you have sunlight during, it is a tiny fraction when the sun is shining from the north. So any period when there will be a degree of reflection on our northern facade back towards the residence building is a fraction of time. I'm going to leave the other comments that have been raised for Mickey to deal with. I would just like to thank you again for your time this evening. It's an honor to have addressed you. A unique building, and I have to say a unique way of addressing you all, not one that I've been involved with before. So with that, Mickey, I'd like to hand back to you to deal with the other matters that have been raised by the Residents Association. Thank you all very much.
Okay, Robert, we thank you for your very informative information to us. Mickey, do you want to pick it back up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And just to address a few of the other concerns, again, our whole team, which I won't introduce because that could take quite some time, but they are online and if necessary, available to answer specific questions on these items, but I'm going to address them now in really summary form. A concern was raised as to the drainage of the site. Currently, the building has one injection well and it drains fine, but we're actually adding a second well to double the efficiency of the drainage on site. So based on our plans and our engineering, the drainage that's going to be proposed with the new project will be twice as effective and twice as fast as what is there today. So we believe that the drainage will be more than adequately addressed, and certainly it's required by code to be kept on site, and we're very, very happy to be improving that system. The question was raised about westbound traffic on Aventura Boulevard. We've spoken to our traffic team, which is Plummer and Associates, and even though this is a very low impact bank use, the private bank has 2 to 3 customers a day. It's not your typical heavy traffic bank, but nevertheless, it was analyzed very conservatively. And even with that analysis, we would expect 18 additional peak hour trips. And in the afternoon, that's 5 westbound trips total. And with that, we're talking about, 5 westbound routes with the 18 trips. So 1 or 2 trips per each route, we're talking about very minimal impact. And our traffic engineers have clarified that the impact is so de minimis that you wouldn't even perceive it. So we're happy to go further into that, but we feel the traffic is going to be very de minimis based on the expansion of the use. As to noise, there was some concern raised on mechanical equipment. Mechanical equipment being proposed is very, very low impact equipment. It meets all the current codes, and it's going to be at a lower noise than the equipment there on site today. Also, our new equipment will be enclosed and covered, so we don't expect any noise from any mechanical equipment to be heard anywhere off site. Additionally, there was a question raised about street noise. I just don't expect that to be any noise at all. Most of the folks in the building will be employees of the building. They will park in the underground garage and enter the building internally. The few customers that park on the street will go directly into the building. We don't see any need or any reason for folks to congregate and make any noise at all. So I don't see that as an issue. Happy to address that further if you like. Finally, there was a concern raised about flying debris from the roof. What I can promise, well, Raymond Jungles was hired, and they're really the preeminent landscape architects in South Florida. And they've created a really beautiful rooftop plan. All of the material on the roof will be system tested, NOA approved, and will be approved to withstand all high velocity wind loads and all hurricane requirements. There will be no materials or plantings on that roof that will be expected to be any impact on hurricanes. So again, our consultants are here to answer any questions on those items, but I wanted to briefly address them for you all. With that, I really want to thank you for your time, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have, and my team is available as well. Thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you, Mickey. And let me ask if any member of the commission has any questions or comments. Dr. Marks.
Just unmute.
Unmute.
I have a couple of questions, but I just want to ask first, Rob, are you currently in London?
I am indeed, Dr. Marks, yes.
So it's midnight over there, almost midnight. So thank you for joining us at that lovely bewitching hour. Having said that though, my question is, the 12-story building, is it totally devoted to Safra Bank, or will they be leasing out office space to other companies?
Mickey, you're probably closer to our clients' wishes.
Yeah.
And desires. Could I ask you to address Dr. Marks's question, please?
Sure. Dr. Marks, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, they will be leasing out some of the floors to additional tenants. But this is going to be primarily Safra's main location in the south of the United States, and they're going to be very careful as to who they lease it out to. They're looking for clients that are low impact clients that won't impact their operations or impact them in any way. So we're not going to have high traffic offices here. I can't tell you who the tenants will be yet. That hasn't started yet, but some of the floors are dedicated to other tenants.
So there could potentially be a few more cars than you're currently anticipating.
Oh no, our parking has anticipated those additional floors and all those.
No, I'm talking about driving on the street in terms of traffic coming and going.
Right. Well, yes, more than the Safra Bank itself, but
okay.
Traditional.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the commission have a comment or question? Okay, I'm going to open this item for public comment, and I'm going to request the city clerk review the procedures for members of the public to provide comments.
Mayor,
Yes.
I had a question.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Thank you. For Joanne, just to be clear, the FAR, I think you said 1.99, that's something that they have as of right because of the development bonus if they achieve gold LEED certification. Is that right?
Following conditional use approval, that's correct.
So that's nothing we're giving them. That's something they have a right to do. And
They need the approval.
Mr. Attorney, it's difficult enough. If you would like to talk, please let us know. So please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Just repeating what Joanne said, they do need this conditional use approval.
Right, but we give FAR bonuses in order to encourage LEED certification. This is something that's been done in the past.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so we would make sure that they would have to achieve gold level, correct?
Yes, they enter into a covenant to do so.
Okay. Also, although 200 feet, this is 12 stories. As of right, the property owner can build a 12, at 120 feet, they can build a 12-story building, correct?
That's correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but therefore you would have the same number of offices and they would not need a variance, and they could still have 12 stories worth of offices and tenants and whatever traffic comes with that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so by building in what I consider an iconic building, they're not increasing they're not adding any additional offices to what they are entitled as of right at this moment. I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear on that.
Yes, that's correct. The additional height is because of how tall each floor is proposed.
Thank you.
The first floor is almost 45 feet tall.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner? Okay. Then I'm going to open it for public comment, and I've already given the clerk instructions.
Okay, if you're a member of the public and you wish to make a comment on this item, please tap your screen or press *9 to raise your hand in order to speak on this item. And I will be allowing everybody gets 3 minutes each to speak. I'll be bringing you over one at a time. I will let you know when you are able to speak. Mayor, we have several people that want to speak on this item.
All right, will they state their name and address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Bonavita, 1601. State your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Oh my God. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, this is Brenda Friend. I'm the president of Bonavita Condominium, located in 2100 West Country Club Drive, right across the Safra Bank. Actually, we have our manager here, Annette, that will speak on behalf of all our community.
Has she been sworn in by our clerk?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Friend, are you done with your comments at this time?
Yes, because we have the piece that we have prepared, our manager Annette, she will do that job for us.
Okay. Annette Tomosa, you have been unmuted. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please provide your name and address for the record.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for your time. My name is Annette DiTomaso, and I'm the property manager for Bonavita Condominium, located at 20100 West Country Club Drive. Thank you for your time, Madam Mayor, members of the commission, and other esteemed members of the city. I wish to read for the record the letter from our general counsel, which was sent to Joanne Carr today. The letter comes from Alessandra Stibbleman from Messenger Law, directed to the City of Aventura Community Development Department regarding Bonavita Association, 3050 Aventura Boulevard, notice of public hearing, conditional use approval. Dear Ms. Carr, please be advised that the undersigned law firm represents Bonavita Condominium Association in connection with its general matters. In our capacity as such, we have been asked to prepare this letter in order to memorialize the association's opposition to the above referenced matter. Specifically, we have been informed that 3050 Aventura Owner LLC, the owner of the lot located at 3050 Aventura Boulevard, has filed a request with the City of Aventura for a conditional use approval to increase height and floor area for a new building on said location, and that the City of Aventura will consider same on the public hearing on June 9th, 2020. In light of the Bonavita condominium's proximity to the location of the subject parcel, the association, on behalf of its members, hereby notifies the City of Aventura of its opposition to the increase of height and floor ratio. The new proposed structure will obstruct the residents' views and create additional traffic and street noise in an already high-density area of the City of Aventura, which will undoubtedly disturb the peace and enjoyment of the residents of the Bonavita condominium. Not only would the proposed structure obstruct the views from the condominium, but most notably, from the information submitted to the City of Aventura, it appears that the new structure would project shadows over the building and notably over our pool deck during the winter months, which will most likely negatively impact the building's insulation and raise electrical costs for the association and its residents. The association also has concerns pertaining to construction debris and the detrimental impact the construction may have on the condominium building and the residents, including the residents' cars, which are all parked outside the condominium. Furthermore, the debris during construction and rooftop tree landscaping upon completion would become an issue during windstorm events, which is very concerning given that Bonavita is an older building and many do not have storm-proof windows to protect against such debris. Given the issues raised above, the association believes that the condominium building and the association, its residents and members, are at high risk of negative impact if the requested conditional use approval is granted for the construction of a taller and higher density office and bank building on the subject property. We appreciate your consideration for the association's position on this matter and hope the City of Aventura dutifully considers same in denying the request made by 3050 Aventura Owner LLC. Please, okay. Very truly yours, Alessandra Stivelman, on behalf of the association. One more thing, knowledge of this project was only known to the building and its members as of the receipt of the public hearing notice. Working with staff, we reviewed the specifications of the project and have major concerns on the impact the construction will have to the welfare of the community and the condominium association. It is our express wish to ask the commission to table the item until the association has an opportunity to meet with 3050 Aventura Boulevard LLC to discuss our concerns and means for remediation. And I do want to make a note that Bonavita is also an iconic building, having been designed by Morris Lapidus. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public?
Yes, Mayor, there are. All right, Carlos, please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to provide comments.
Okay, hi. My name is Carlos Rodriguez. I live in Bonavita. 1505 is the unit. And as it was expressed, well, everybody, hi, everybody. Is everybody hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. As a unit owner, one of the concerns has to do with the value of the property. And one of our very great values is having a swimming pool that has all the year-round sun. You know, the sun comes in the east, goes to the west, but in December or the winter time, that's what it's called elsewhere, we don't have it here, but on the winter time, it goes to the north. So as it was expressed, it will give shadow to our swimming pool. And of course, that is something that has not, I think it was a study that it was said by Mr. Robert Harrison, but one of his arguments was that there were some trees there that produced a similar shadow. So he was admitting that we already have a shadow there, and they will produce a similar shadow. The trees can be taken out if that is a problem, let's say, for us, but the building like the one they are going to produce is 12 floors in height will not. So that's perhaps my main concern, but of course the other concerns have to do with the traffic. And again, Mr. Harrison, who lives in London,
of course, hasn't experienced its diary and the traffic we experience every morning here in Aventura. So it's not only the area close to us, but people coming to, much more people will be coming to the offices if they're rented. So that's a concern. We have already suffered with the value something negative when the water park was put in front of us, and now we're going to have another. Even if the building is iconic, and the traffic increase. So these are my two comments, and I would like. I think the motion should be tabled. That is what I'm asking for, so we can look in detail this business about the shadow, and it can be fixed somehow, or to get an integration between the people of the architects and the owners of Bonavita. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, we have another person who would like to speak. Andre Sarah, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to provide comments.
Yes, hi. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me, Madam Mayor and everyone. Thank you very much. I live in Bonavita at 20100 West Country Club Drive, apartment PH5, being a resident here since 1998. I know that some of the concerns that I have, they have already been expressed, but I just want to explain. First of all, I'm a big fan of architecture, and I think a corporate tower will look good for the city. And I know the bank wants to have an impressive piece of building so they can project their brand. But my concern is because of the shadow impact on the pool deck. I just want to clarify that it's just not the pool only, it's a pool deck where people have chairs that take the sun, that a lot of snowbirds that come here, and they use the pool during the winter, which is not winter like the previous caller said. But I just want to remind you that also during those days, the days are shorter, so we have shorter days during those months of the year. And so imagine that we have to move pool chairs depending on the shade of the day because of the building. It's gonna project on our pool deck, and so it's gonna be like how can I say? It's not gonna be it's gonna be a hustle for everybody to enjoy, an amenity that we enjoy very much. And especially that people that come from upstate New York or the northern, or even from Canada, we know what we have. This is a jewel on the winter. So, like I said, I'm a big fan of architecture, and I think the building could be very impressive, but it's not gonna give us a lot of benefit to us, and on contrary, it's gonna be a problem for us. While the bank is going to enjoy something for them, it's not going to be a plus for us. I understand that the city wants something iconic, but at the cost of our comfort and our property. So I just want to thank you for listening to me, and have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, I'm seeing 2 more speakers.
Okay.
Pablo Miliani, may you please state your name and address for the record? You will have 3 minutes to provide comments.
Yes, Madam. Pablo Miliani, 20100 West Country Club Drive, apartment 1207, 12th floor. And I did a swearing, so the information that I'm going to provide is based on the information that I receive. I'd like to just briefly go through some of the points that have been mentioned here. In regards to the shade, when the architect indicated it was a very tiny period of the day. He was talking about from 10 a.m. to 12:30 at noon, according to its own solar study. When they say it's only a tiny portion of the pool, the drawings actually show about half of the pool. When they say that there is no solar reflection, their own study actually shows that some units in our building are going to have 50% of the daytime reflection on certain times of the year. So I want to raise these issues to the City Commission and to your attention. I'm basically on the 12th floor of Aventura, of Bonavita, facing southeast. So for me, the decision that you're going to be making today is the difference between having blue skies or having a glass sky obscured by the shadow of a banking building. As far as the traffic goes, I don't really understand the traffic flow, but currently there is no U-turn permitted on Aventura Boulevard. Most people that actually leave Safra building make a U-turn in front of our driveway and then go south of Country Club Drive back to Aventura Boulevard. That it is incredible to say that having extra cars is not going to have any impact unless the city completely reroutes the traffic around that intersection, which it is not part of the plan. There have been, I have been through 3 hurricanes in the city, one with my months-only baby, and in the last one, we actually lost a 30-year-old tree uprooted by only a Category 1 hurricane. So it's hard to believe that something that is on a 200-feet building is not going to fly away. Bonavita was the first high-rise in Aventura, so we were actually here before the city of Aventura was a city. What's before the City Commission, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and all the people of the city is to make a decision between preserving blue sky for my 3-year-old to grow up and the well-being of the citizens of this community that have been here since 1973, or if it's more important to have bankers have extra height in their offices and a nice, beautiful lounge to enjoy cocktails, which I'm sure it's going to be amazing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm seeing one more speaker at this time.
Hello?
Okay, there you are.
Are you hearing me?
All right, I can hear you now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to provide comments.
My name is Moshe Hakak. I live in Ventura Boulevard in Bonavita in PH 04. My concern is the parking. I live here 11 years and we have problem at the parking with every time that it's raining. We have a problem in the parking. I have this experience when they build the small market, when we have here Walgreen and Kosher Kingdom, we start having problem in the parking. Every time it's raining, the parking we will have problem here, and the parking is full of water, and nobody can park there, and this is a problem. So we're gonna have now another building, and the problem is where they're gonna put the water, because we did like 6-7 years ago, we spent almost $500,000 to rebuild a pool under the building, under the parking for the water, and we still have this problem. So now we're going to have another building, and my concern is the parking. This is my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm seeing two more people who would like to speak, and I also see that Mickey Marrera has raised his hand. Did you want him to speak at this time or after the public
After
comment?
after the public has spoken.
Team Fonseca, please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to provide comments. Somebody logged on as Team Fonseca.
Hello? Would you like to talk?
All right, I'm going to disable their talking and go to the next person. Soraya Raposo, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Soraya Raposo. I live at 2100 West Country Club Drive, Unit 701. And my question to you is, I heard that according to the project, it's not going to be the traffic is not going to be affected. But on the other hand, I read also on your document that you're going to have a underneath parking, with 3 floors with over 350 parking lot. If that is the case, if there's a very minimum traffic, why do you need so many parking spaces if there's going to be very minimum traffic, and it's supposed to be 6 people driving at the at 5 o'clock, according to what was stated? And in order for all the traffic, if you were telling me over 350 parking space, it's going to go through West Country Club, which I see all the traffic coming through our parking lot, to cross, not to go through the light, and it comes over, they cut through our parking lot, and I see it day in and day out. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm seeing somebody who wasn't able to speak before. I'm going to see if they can now. If you're logged on as Team Fonseca, can you hear me? Team Fonseca, did you raise your hand to speak? Okay. Are there any other members of the public who would like to provide comments at this time? Please raise your hand. Mayor, I'm not seeing anybody else who would like to provide comments on this item.
Okay, I'm going to close the item for public comment, but I'm going to let Mickey Marrero speak.
Madam Mayor? Hi. You can hear me. Thank you again for giving me an opportunity to respond to some of those comments. I really see 3 different areas that were raised, and I do want to just put a little bit more time so you all can clearly understand. So as to the shadow study and its impact on the pool deck, the B2 zoning district doesn't require a shadow study, but Joanne, as she always does, is very careful and very aware of the concerns that may come up. So she asked us to do everything possible to provide a shadow study and minimize any impact. So in that very first meeting, we agreed to move the building to the furthest point in the south to minimize any impact on the pool deck. Our studies, which have been double and triple checked just to make sure, and what we submitted to Joanne, show what I see to be a 2 to 3% coverage of the pool deck, not just the pool. I think it's like nothing on the pool, but the pool deck on the most impactful day at the most impactful hour of the year. And that's when it's most impactful, we're talking 2 to 3% of the pool deck being impacted. The trees that have been there for decades cover that area. So as far as added impact on the shadow to what already exists, we think it's 0. But if you take away the trees and look at solely our building, we're talking about 2 to 3% of the pool deck being impacted. So from a practical standpoint, we don't think there's any change in how the building will enjoy the pool based on this building. And I think when you see how far back it's pushed on the property line, that's why it's a little bit hard to see. But the studies are very clear, and Joanne has those. As to traffic, as Commissioner Weinberg pointed out, if we wanted just to build an as-of-right building, come in with a building permit, we wouldn't need to do LEED, we wouldn't need to get a conditional use. We could build a 12-story office building today without any approval. It wouldn't be as beautiful as this building, but we could certainly build it. And it would have the same traffic impact as is proposed by this building. What I want to emphasize also is that because several of the floors will be housed by Safra Bank and its low impact use, particularly the first floor and the top floor, which are very tall floors that are not really used for office at all, but almost VIP welcoming areas, the traffic is much less than a traditional office building, which would be maxed out at every floor. And as to the parking, yes, we've complied with the code for parking. We're not asking you for a parking variance, but because so many of those floors are low impact uses, we don't believe we're going to be using all those parking spaces at peak hours, but we do comply with the code as if it was the most impactful office at every floor. Finally, the drainage issue was raised again as to whether the parking lot will drain. The building is not, we're not asking for a lot coverage increase. The building complies with lot coverage. And again, we're doubling the efficiency of the drainage with this project. So for our project, I mean, it functions fine today. It's going to function twice as good, and quite frankly, maybe more, because the system that's there today has some wear and tear. So 2 brand new wells are going to, at worst, function twice as good. We think even more. So I just wanted to touch on those points and address the concerns that were raised. And again, my team is available, and if you'd like to speak to any consultant in particular, we can have them available. But I wanted to at least address all those issues that were raised. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this point, unless there's a commissioner that has a question that hasn't been raised, I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Mayor.
Commissioner Landman.
So after hearing all of the concerns and obviously all of the replies, my only concern is that the residents of Bonavita just found out about this recently. Is there a possibility for, the contractor, the developer, and the building to have a meeting and kind of go over all these points and kind of share all of the stuff, kind of a little bit? It would make me more comfortable before moving forward. I understand, I haven't seen the studies. I haven't seen, I'm just listening to what people are saying on both sides. I'm just hearing, I'm not seeing the documents. I think it would be great for the two to get together before we move this forward and maybe alleviate a lot of the concerns that have been raised today. So I would be okay with tabling it. I'm not saying—
Are you making a motion to do such?
I'll make a motion to table.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Nara.
We can't hear you, Mayor. Mayor, I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, I asked the clerk for a roll call vote on the tabling of this item.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks. I
You,
can hear you, Dr. Marks. You're muted.
Am I able to wait and vote at the end, Elisa?
No. No.
Okay. Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narodsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
No.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
No.
The motion to table passes.
Okay.
Mayor, may I allow me to comment?
certainly make a comment. We're on to the next item.
I would like to request, though, that we make sure that we get this item back for the July meeting, because we don't have a meeting in August.
I am sure they will do everything they can to get it back in a timely manner. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say that if the commission directs that the item come back at the July meeting, then that would save the cost of an additional publication and mailing notice.
Do I have to do that through a vote?
Just if it's a consensus and the clerk would recite the date and time of the meeting.
Okay, I'm going to ask, because it is Zoom, that if you're in favor of what the attorney just said by directing the manager to have it on our July agenda, would you please raise your hand? Okay, it looks like it's unanimous to me. Yes, Mr.
Mayor, one other point, just for the record, may the city clerk recite the date and time of that July meeting, just so it's in the record.
That would be July 7th, 2020 at 6:00 p.m.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to now request the city attorney to read the resolution for item C.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, approving a variance from section 31-191 J2B of the City Code for a secondary wall sign at 18909 Northeast 29th Avenue, City of Aventura, Florida, and providing for an effective date.
Can I ask for a motion or for approval of this resolution? Made by Commissioner Shelley. Can I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks. Can I request Community Development Director Joanne Carr to please present the staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've been sworn in. I would like to enter the staff report into the record. The applicant, Courtney Jared Bannon, Esquire, on behalf of 10X HQ LLC, is requesting a sign variance to permit a secondary wall sign measuring 27.8 square feet, where a secondary wall sign measuring 18.45 square feet is allowed by code, and to permit that wall sign to be located within 300 feet of a residentially zoned property where wall signs within that distance are not allowed by code. Staff is recommending approval of the sign variance with conditions. The location is a one-story building at 18909 Northeast 29th Avenue at the corner of Northeast 29th Avenue and Northeast 190th Street that houses the applicant's offices. The building has frontages on 2 public streets and has 2 two-way accesses. The city code allows 2 wall signs for such a location. The first sign may be 1 square foot for each 1 lineal foot of building frontage, and the second sign may be 50% of the size of the primary sign. Wall signs are not permitted within 300 feet of a residentially zoned property. There is an existing sign on Northeast 29th Avenue on the building. It measures 36.9 square feet. The code therefore would allow a secondary sign measuring 18, half of that, or 18.45 square feet. The secondary sign that they want will be located on the north side of the building on Northeast 190th Street. And it is proposed at 27.8, so larger than permitted by code, and approximately 200 feet away from that residential development to the north. So the applicant is requesting a sign variance to permit a secondary sign larger than permitted by code and within 300 feet of a residentially zoned property. The illumination level is proposed at 750 lumens, where 4,000 lumens is the maximum allowed by code, and that's to minimize any disturbance to the neighbors to the north from the light from that sign. This building was formerly occupied by Northern Trust Bank. It also had a secondary wall sign larger than permitted by code, also approved through sign variance. That sign was 35 square feet. The applicant's request is similar at 36.9 square feet. Public notice has been posted, published, and mailed in accordance with Section 3171 of the City Code. No public comments have been received. Staff has analyzed the request using the criteria for approval of sign variances in section 31191M8 of the City Code and finds that it does meet those criteria. Staff therefore recommends approval of the sign variance with the following conditions: that the sign submitted for permitting complies with plans submitted with this application, and that the applicant obtain a building permit for the sign within 12 months of the date of this approval. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, let me now ask the applicant if they have any comments.
Evan Ross, you're able to speak at this time.
Thank you. I just want to thank Joanne for working with us to get this done and the rest of the staff. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have. I don't take up more of your time with any kind of a presentation that I doubt you need. So just want to thank everybody again and here for anything that you may need to ask. Let me ask if any member of the commission has any questions or comments. Seeing as there are none, I'm going to open the item for public comment and request the city clerk to review the procedures for members of the public to provide comments.
If anybody from the public would like to provide comments on this item, 6C, please tap your phone or click on your computer to raise your hand. If you're calling in, you need to press *9 to raise your hand and provide comments at this time. I'm not seeing anybody who wishes to provide comments at this time, Mayor.
Then I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narodsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the next order of business are ordinances on first reading, and we have none. However, we do have ordinances on second reading. I'm going to request the city attorney to read Ordinance A.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending ordinance number 2019-08, which ordinance is adopted a charter school operating and capital budget for the Aventura City of Excellence School for fiscal year 2019-2020, July 1 to June 30th, by revising the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget document as outlined in Exhibit A attached here too, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this ordinance and providing for an effective date.
Can I ask for a motion for approval of this ordinance? Made by Commissioner Narodsky, seconded by Commissioner Shelley. Let me ask if any member of the commission has any questions or comments. Seeing as there are none, I'm going to open the item for public comment and request the city clerk to review the procedures for members of the public wishing to provide comments.
If there is anybody in the public that would like to provide comments on this item, please raise your hand at this time by clicking on your screen or tapping your screen to raise your hand. If you're calling in, please press *9 to provide a comment on this item. Mayor, I'm not seeing any comments at this time.
Okay, I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narodsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
Yes,
Motion passes on second and final reading.
thank you. I'm going to request the city attorney to read Ordinance B.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Chapter 42, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places of the City Code by amending Article 1 in general, creating Section 42(1), construction of public utilities or works in public rights of way, construction of paving and drainage on private property, permit required, effective installation of city utility, exemption, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Can I ask for a motion to approve this ordinance? made by Commissioner Narotsky, seconded by Commissioner Landman. Let me ask if any members of the commission have any questions or comments. Seeing as there's none, I'm going to open the item for public comment.
If there's any member from the public that would like to provide comments on this item, please raise your hand at this time by clicking or tapping on your screen or on your computer. If you're calling in, please press *9 to raise your hand. Mayor, I'm not seeing any comments at this time.
Then I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narotsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
Mayor Weissman.
Yes,
Motion passes on second and final reading.
thank you. I'm going to request the city attorney to read Ordinance C.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending ordinance number 2019-09, which ordinance is adopted the Don Safra Aventura High School Budget Fund 191 for fiscal year 2019-2020, July 1 to June 30th, by revising the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget document as outlined in Exhibit A attached here too, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this ordinance and providing for an effective date.
And Mr. Attorney, at this time, aren't we sitting in our capacity as the governing board and not as the commission?
That's correct. That's correct, Mayor. Governing Board of the Don Safra Aventura High School.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for approval of the ordinance? Made by Commissioner Shelley, seconded by Commissioner Narotsky. Do any members of the commission have any questions or comments? Seeing as there are none, I'm going to open it for public comment.
If there are any members of the public who would like to provide comments on this item, please tap your screen or press *9 if you're calling in order to raise your hand and provide comments at this time. Mayor, I'm not seeing anybody who would like to provide comments at this time.
Okay, I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narotsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
Yes.
Motion passes on second and final reading.
Okay, we now move on to item 9 on our agenda, resolutions and public hearing, and I'm going to request the city attorney to read the resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Resolution 9638, which adopted a fee schedule for building permits, and which resolution was amended by Resolution number 9828, Resolution number 2024, Resolution number 2009-45, and Resolution number 2019-22, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this resolution and providing for an effective date.
Can I please ask for a motion for approval of this resolution? Made by Commissioner Mizrahi, seconded by Commissioner Landman. Let me ask if any members of the commission have any questions or comments. Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks.
May I ask that someone explain exactly what the fee schedule is and what the
City
change?
Manager. Mr. City Manager.
Sure. Good evening. From time to time, the commission is asked to revise or look at the fee schedule, and we're asking that we add 2 fees to the schedule for Aventura. It is in the code now that when a building is built, that the fire department and the police department have to have radios that work throughout the building due to the structure now that the way buildings are made. So in the past, when the fire department or the Miami-Dade County came to check to see if the radios were working, there was a cost involved, and there was a pre-test and a post-test. The pre-test was $255. The post-test was $425. So this is a way for us to capture those fees when they're incurred. I don't know, did that answer the question?
Yeah, I really just wanted it to be explained for the public because I think this is
Right.
something new
Yeah.
that we're adding, and I think it's important for people to understand.
Anyone else? Any commissioner, any comments? Okay, I'm going to open the item for public comment.
If there are any members of the public that would like to provide comments on this item, please tap your screen or click on your computer, press *9 if you're calling in to raise your hand and provide a comment. Mayor, I'm not seeing anybody wishing to provide comments.
Okay, then I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Landman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Narotsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinberg,
Yes.
and Mayor Weissman.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. We now move on to item 10, reports. Do any commissioners have any reports? Commissioner Mizrahi.
Yes, I just want to thank the police, the chief, and everyone for monitoring all the events that happened this week. That thank you to them and all their proactive actions. We felt very safe.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yeah, this is a question more than a comment. There's been a lot of confusion as to what is needed for quarantine versus what's not. So, Ron, could you send out, if you're coming from wherever, what is required? Because some states coming into Florida are requiring quarantine, some aren't, some countries are, some aren't. So rather than do it now, could you put together what has come out and what the final is at this point and send it out tomorrow to us?
Yes,
Thank you.
no
And
problem.
if I could answer for him, we get executive orders now 3 and 4 times a day. We find out what we said at 12. The Herald puts something out at 5 minutes after 12 that is the exact opposite. So
Exactly.
I wish our city manager good luck in trying to get something concrete,
Exactly.
but we'll
Yeah.
try. Commissioner Landman, then Commissioner Marks.
Thank you. We're in June. Hurricane season has begun. So I had a discussion with the city manager, but obviously this hurricane season is a little bit different because of the ongoing pandemic. So I think I want to make sure that the city, and he assured me that we are, is putting out information and extra precautions to be prepared and what we need to do and the extra steps that we need to take. And I know the county sent out a booklet that has a little pamphlet with, COVID hurricane preparedness, but, I just want to make sure the general public knows we're in hurricane season. Already there was a few storms. Please be ready. Please be prepared. Please be proactive because things are a little bit more difficult this year than usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks.
So I first of all, I just want to say that the ACE's 8th grade graduation and kindergarten graduation this past week was absolutely phenomenal. The parents decorated the cars, or the kids decorated the cars. Somehow they were beautifully decorated. Each child had such a huge smile on his or her face when they came through the drive area. And the teachers were so happy and excited and so beautifully cohesive. So I want to give a big shout out to the principal, all the teachers, and all of our 8th grade graduates and kindergarten graduates. So that's item 1. Item 2, I just want to encourage anyone who feels comfortable. My husband and I have made a mission of getting to as many restaurants as we could in our city. And that has a little bit of altruism attached to it because my particular pots and pans are crying from use. They don't want to be used anymore. So we are trying to put them back to bed neatly and go out to the restaurants. But I want to say our restaurants in the city have done a phenomenal job of really keeping things safe, following the rules, and just a huge shout out to the restaurants as well as to the mall. again, working so hard and doing such a good job of really following social distancing. So if anyone feels safe, and I just encourage you to please go out and support our local restaurants, shops, etc. Another thing, just at my development, and Bob, I'm sure you have this at your development as well, we have been just inundated with what's going to open, when is it going to open. Thank goodness tennis doubles open today, because I think that our particular tennis players were ready to go and picket or do something. So we're happy that they were able to do doubles. But I want to commend all of the employees throughout our city who are working through these rules and regulations and, you know, how to do this properly and what can you do and what can you not do. So just a big shout out to everybody. It's really been a phenomenal group effort, but I can tell you that things are moving along beautifully. And so I still do not understand, Ron, and I probably never will, and I'm a dog owner, how you send a dog to the dog park on a leash, but I'm not here to, you know, argue or you know, question why you're going to take dogs to a dog park on leashes. It should be a very interesting situation.
If I may, Dr. Marks, that exact question came up in our mayor's conference call. And
I can hardly wait.
While it says the dog has to have a leash, it doesn't say that anyone has to be on the other end of the leash.
I understand, but anyone who's been at the dog park watching dogs run furiously around and getting their exercise, some dogs are just going to get caught up with these leashes and whatever. But as I said, at least they're open. And so those people, again, who want to take advantage of that, you know, that's terrific. And then my last item in the reports is actually a question. I don't know how the rest of my fellow commissioners feel about Zoom, but respectfully, just as my pots and pans got tired of being used, I think that it's really hard to have these meetings as opposed to being in person and being able to honestly interact with my colleagues. So I would like to ask if there's any humanly possible way that maybe in July, if not this next workshop, if my colleagues feel that they're comfortable meeting in person.
Can I, may I respond to that?
Yes, I see you, Commissioner Narotsky.
Respectfully, I disagree. I think that we need to transition and embrace the technology. I think it's much more efficient. I think that if we are doing a good job of muting ourselves and having the proper camera and the updated speed, I think that we need to transition and embrace what this is. I think that there's a lot of lost time and energy attending physical meetings, driving and parking, etc. And I respectfully disagree. So thank you.
And next was Commissioner Weinberg.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I actually had a request, but let me just say to Dr. Marks, I agree with you. I'm doing all my meetings that are not Zoom. I'm doing them at Aventura restaurants, 1 today and 2 more tomorrow. So let's keep going. I was thinking about the Safra Bank item that we tabled, and I was thinking that if my colleagues would agree, I'd like to have a one-issue special meeting before the workshop on the 18th. I think 9 days is plenty of time for the parties to get together. We don't need to penalize them, making them wait till next month. I appreciate Commissioner Landsman. In fact, I voted in favor of it. Give the parties a chance to meet, but I think 9 days is plenty. We've done this in the past with other matters. And if you're amenable, let's direct the clerk to put out the notice.
City Attorney, wait a minute, City Attorney, this is during our report.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I understand, excuse me, is it okay if I speak?
Well, I would have liked to finish my sentence, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Couldn't hear for a
That's the
second.
problem with Zoom. I haven't been able to hear half of what people say. I mean, maybe if the technology was better, for me, it would work better. But I'm on it all day.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make the point. I understand what Commissioner Weinberg is saying, but there were opponents on that item, and they were at this meeting hearing the specific date it would be tabled to, so I would not recommend that that be changed.
Let me ask you a question. And because we have the names of those specific individuals, what if our city clerk informed them of it?
That's a possibility, but there may have been other people watching and observing, and I don't know if we have a record of who those are. There may be some that have, I'm just trying to protect the ultimate decision from any attack. That's my only concern. So there might have been other people listening in who didn't speak, but now they think they don't have to worry about this until July 7th. So that's the problem that I see.
Commissioner Weinberg.
Yeah, not trying to opine as an attorney when we have a very capable city attorney, but that same meeting is still ongoing. We're still in session.
Right,
and, we certainly could give written notice to the attorney for the association that sent the letter and each person that gave their name and address tonight. And of course, this wouldn't happen unless it was confirmed that a meeting took place between Safra Bank and the building and all interested parties. They would have to tell us, yes, we did meet before we would hear the item. So that would be my suggestion in the spirit of fairness.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yeah, I have to respectfully voice my opinion. I think what we're doing would be very wrong. We have it set for July. I think we're micromanaging Joanne and the city manager and the whole process of the approval. I wasn't in favor of tabling it because I think everybody had a chance to hear the case. There was notice sent out to these people. I don't believe this has been done in secret, but for us to have a specific meeting to see if they have had a meeting and then discuss what their meeting was about, to me is absolutely micromanaging our own process. And I am totally against it. We have a meeting the 7th. Just like tonight, we heard a meeting. We had the right and the ability to table it. It got tabled. I wasn't in favor, but we went and did it. We can have the same option coming up, but we are now taking the role of a totally different area. If we stop micromanaging and managing the approval process and the meeting process and the arguing and back and forth and getting involved with decision-making between these two parties, we are not arbitrators. We are not mediators. We have a staff that will do that job for us, and then we will vote on it July 7th, one way or the other. So I'm adamantly against getting involved with that kind of micromanaging of the approval process of our city.
Okay, if my understanding of Robert's Rules of Order is correct, someone from the prevailing side can make a comment or a statement, but if you weren't on the prevailing side, as I was not, nor was Commissioner Shelley, we're basically out of this. So I'm going to recognize again Commissioner Weinberg.
Thank you. Yes, I was on the prevailing side, and I wasn't suggesting that we do anything different than what we're going to do at the July meeting. I was just simply moving up the date. We don't need a month. 9 days is plenty. I'm not suggesting getting involved in their meetings or Joanne's process. I was simply saying the item comes back to us to be voted on at that time. All I'm doing is bumping it up by a couple of weeks in the spirit of fairness. That's all I'm suggesting. Whether you guys, fellow commissioners and mayor, want to do it or not, I'm putting it out there. I think it's the right thing.
I don't think we have the legal right, David, to vote at a workshop meeting, is the point I'm making.
No,
I'm asking for a special, one issue. I'm sorry,
Excuse me, Howard, wait a minute. That's what I was asking our attorney to start with. We're finished. Right now, we're in public hearing. Okay, we're in commissioner reports. And what I'm hearing is something that could be turned into a motion. So I'm asking you, is this the appropriate time to bring it up during reports?
Technically, no, it's not the appropriate time to bring it up. I've stated the concerns I had about changing the announced time of the revisiting of the item that was tabled. Those are of record, but technically this is the report section of the agenda. Any of the applicants or interested parties could have well left after the particular conditional use item was heard.
Well, so I'm not sure where Vice Mayor Weinberg.
Just for the record, we cannot vote on this at a workshop. This would be a one-item special commission meeting starting at 9 a.m. Same thing we did with Serafina and their request for a liquor license. We had we had a special meeting before the workshop 2 weeks ago, actually, if you recall, for a budget item and other items for reconsideration. So it is a process that is perfectly acceptable. It would not be the workshop. And I would like to know at what time it is appropriate for me to make a motion, and it will pass or fail.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, at what time would it be appropriate? And then I have Commissioner Narotsky.
The commission, if it desires, before adjourning, may add this to item 12 as other business to
Okay,
discuss the scheduling of this. You have my concerns and comments on the record.
Commissioner Narodsky.
I was just going to say an up or down vote is fine with me.
Yeah, but an up or down, I have to have a motion to be able to vote on something.
Oh, I'm in favor of leaving it for July. So, I mean, whatever you want me to do.
But that's the way it is now, so I don't think I need a motion for that. Again, I'm deferring to the attorney. And Vice Mayor Weinberg, if you wish to make a motion, the attorney has said you can do it, and then you can second it and we can vote it up or down, is what I'm hearing.
Right, and at what time should I do that? I'm ready. Either way, I'm ready to make the motion. When you call item 12, Mayor, I will make the motion.
Okay. City Attorney?
That'll be fine, Mayor.
Okay. Are there any other reports? All right. Public comments. I'm going to request the city attorney to review with the commission members the purpose of this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Public comment is for the city to receive input from the public in accordance with your rules. It's not to engage in any discussion or any back and forth questions. However, if follow-up action is needed, the city manager at a subsequent date will follow up with the resident or other person who makes a public comment.
Okay. I'm going to open the item for public comment. And I'll wait for the city clerk to let me know if there's anyone signed up.
Okay. If there's anybody who would like to provide comments at this time, please raise your hand by tapping on your smartphone, your computer, or your laptop. If you're on a phone calling in, press *9 in order to raise your hand. I do have 2 speakers at this time. The first one is going to be Mickey Marrero.
Good evening.
He's already been sworn in.
Yeah.
No testimony is needed.
Okay.
So I appreciate everyone's time, and I apologize for the procedure here. If at all possible, I had in my mind if there's a possibility to reconsider the item, as I think the mayor alluded to, if one of the prevailing parties on the motion wanted to make a motion to reconsider the vote, if there is an appetite to do that. We are on a very tight time frame, and as you know, there's been several months of canceled meetings. We have, I believe, addressed all of the concerns raised. If you all really require that we meet with them, we can do that, but I don't believe anything will change as we have exhaustively responded to the concerns, and our application was very proactive in addressing every possible concern. And the building's been designed in a way that it's going to minimize any impacts whatsoever. With that, I don't know what else other than drastically changing the design, which is not something that anybody wants. We could minimize these impacts in any way. So I appreciate Commissioner Weinberg's concern. We are on a very tight time frame, which requires a lot of moving parts, moving out the existing tenants of the bank building, the existing folks that work there, relocating them and starting construction. We've already been delayed a little bit, and it's a very tight time frame. So anything that could be done, whether it's reconsidering or moving the meeting to an earlier date, we would really appreciate that. If it is moved, as Commissioner Weinberg suggested, I would make every effort to contact them immediately and make sure we've at least communicated and tried to address the questions any further before any time we meet. But again, I think you could reconsider it today if you felt appropriate, since it is the same meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the commission?
Yes, Mayor. I have Michael Stern. Michael Stern, please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
He's still muted.
Yeah, there you go.
No, still.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So Michael Stern, 20730 Northeast 30th Place. I just wanted to, I thanked a lot of you privately, but I wanted to publicly just thank the entire commission and the city manager and of course the police department for their unbelievable support for the 2020 high school graduation parade we had last month. I'm still receiving comments, and a lot of comments I received they like to make this an annual event, even though they have a traditional ceremony. They want to complement it by having both, because the traditional ceremony is, in their words, very boring, and this was the most exciting thing they had. So I'd like to recommend that you do this every year. And on a separate note, Mayor Weissman, if you want, I can help you with a simple solution to your Zoom problem. So as you obviously know, I do a lot of those, so I could help you. If you want to call me later, I could fix that for you. Thank Absolutely. you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Is there anyone else? City Clerk.
I'm not seeing anybody else who would like to provide comments at this time.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public comment section of the meeting, and we're on item number 12, other business. Vice Mayor Weinberg.
Yeah, I'd like to move to have a one-item special meeting for the Safra Bank variance request. I would like to do it at 9 a.m. Right before the workshop.
There's been a motion to have a one-item meeting, but prior to that, Mr. Attorney, according to our charter, special meetings don't require a vote. So I'm just very confused, and I need you legally to sort this out.
Right, the thing is,
In all of our other special meetings, we've never voted on it. We've been told that there will be a meeting either an hour before the workshop or after. We've never voted on special meetings. And my understanding of the part of the charter that you had me read just recently, we don't vote for this.
That's correct. The manager could set a special meeting. The problem is the action on this Safra Bank was to specifically table it to a date and time certain. To change that would create, in my opinion, a defect in the proceedings. For example, when we give notice of a quasi-judicial item, we give notice by mailing a certain number of days. By you changing the date, you're affecting the whole interplay. And I don't know if Mr. Marrero is thinking of this at this time, but it creates a defect in the proceedings. If they had a problem, they should have tried to speak up before the vote was taken of tabling. This now, to change the date when some people maybe are no longer watching this meeting because the Safra item is over with, and to change it to a special meeting, my belief would be a disgruntled person would easily attack this, and that would just tie things up until ultimately adjudicated. So I think it would be a huge blunder.
All right, I have a motion, though. I have a motion on the floor, and
That's correct.
I need a second. Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks. That was a second?
There was a second, and I also have a comment.
Okay, you're recognized.
Thank you. This is addressed to the attorney. So we are, and again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm asking honestly just for some clarification. So we are still in a commission meeting, and it has not ended. And again, and respectfully, Mark, sometimes these things, if we're all together, just body language and a lot of other things helps people really understand where and what is going on. But the bottom line is we are here zooming away, and my question is as follows. What would happen, I'm asking the attorney. So we have a meeting scheduled for the 9th of July right now. Is that our workshop? No, when is our workshop? When is the coming up workshop?
June 18th.
June 18th, okay. And then we have a July, this was tabled until July 9th or 10th, correct?
July 7th.
July 7th, okay. What happens on July 7th? Here we had this nice meeting tonight. On July 7th, something occurs and we cannot hold a workshop, a commission meeting at all. We still have the same problem with having to notify the apartment complex because there could be a change in the date. So I'm not let's say we have a hurricane that day, so you can't hold the meeting. So I'm not understanding why we can't properly notice a meeting for the workshop day, properly notice it, send the notice to the attorney for the apartment complex. Just explain to me, because I don't understand what the difference is.
If you're changing the date, you need a new newspaper publication and a new mailed notice to people, that's human beings, within a 300-foot radius. And that itself, Joanne Carr could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that calls for like a 10-day notice itself. So this would create a huge
What does that
defect
cost
in
us?
proceedings.
But I have a question, Bob, and then I'll let you ask. Was that done in this case?
Yes, these folks received ample notice.
Within the longer than the 9-day time period?
Right, Joanne could confirm it, but they got mailed notice, published notice, and also a posting.
Okay. Commissioner Shelley, thank you.
That's correct.
All right, I think we're missing something so critical. First of all, Denise asked to table this to give the parties a chance to talk under the impression they didn't get proper notice when they actually did get proper notice. Now Howard wants, Commissioner Wyman, Vice Mayor, wants to have a meeting, spend money to have a special meeting, notice it, do it according to the bylaws, according to the charter, spend money, when in fact we are absolutely jeopardizing that whatever we do on that particular date could conceivably be challenged by the very things that we're trying to accomplish. And I think we're contradicting exactly what we just heard from our city attorney. We are now circumventing our city attorney, the process, the purpose of Denise's intent, and everything you can name. So it's nice that you want to have a special meeting, and it's nice to have them if they're properly noticed, and we want to spend thousands of dollars to do it. But in this case, unfortunately, as David has said, the people are not in the room anymore. Some of them may, some of them may not be. I understand Mickey. Personally, I would have liked Mickey, and I, as a friend of mine, I would have liked him to get up and say, excuse me, Denise, that they did get proper notice. But it didn't happen. And I don't believe we can now have a meeting just for one item. Otherwise, we're going to spend the rest of our lives as commissioners in one-item meetings every time somebody wants to have a meeting. We have a process, and what happened to the process all of a sudden? So as far as I'm concerned, and I'm very upset by this, because as a commissioner, we have to go by the rules of the city. And if we have a city attorney, a city manager, they've got to be strong. They've got to tell us what the rules and regulations are. We have to live and die by them. But to just arbitrarily change a meeting, first of all, you're going against what your city commissioner wanted. Denise did this because she said, give them time to talk. Whether they're going to accomplish it or not is not what her intention was. It was to give them time to talk. Now we're taking away that time. Personally, it's already almost the weekend. To me, you're hearing from your city attorney, this decision could be challenged if that building isn't happy with the outcome. Am I correct, David?
That's correct.
And we're spending money to possibly have somebody contest exactly what we're doing when we shouldn't be doing it. We're being told not to do it by the city attorney, and we're circumventing the whole intention of tabling this thing, which shouldn't have been to begin with. But I blame the attorney for this, because somebody should have said, guys, they had notice, but nobody did. Shame on them. Now they have to wait till our July meeting, and Denise will get what she wanted to accomplish, giving these people the time. You all voted for other than Enid and I, you all voted for the extension, and now you're criticizing your own vote. So to me, this is getting insane. Either we have a city attorney we listen to, or we don't. But I'm sorry, I don't like when we break the rules, take chances, and go against our city attorney just because of a whim of having a meeting pushed up earlier. And thank you, that's what I have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Weinberg, then Commissioner Mizrahi, and then I'll see.
Just so it's clear, again, in my 8 years, we've had many, many, many 1 or 2 item special meetings before workshops. It's a normal part and practice in our commission, number one. Number two, I voted for.
One second. It's really hard for the public to hear us talking through each other.
We did it specifically for, if you recall, Serafina, because they had an issue. That's number one. I'm getting there. Number one, I voted in favor of Denise's motion. I just felt, after thinking about it, that 30 days or 20 days was not necessary for what they were trying to accomplish, which is a meeting, which takes place in one afternoon. So I thought it was an unnecessary hardship. So we could do it the way we've done it many times, since we're going to be meeting anyway. Now, with regard to what the attorney is saying, if it has to be renoticed for thousands of dollars, then I'm not in favor of it. My request was to pick a date certain here during this meeting, and so it's tabled, not a new $1,000 newspaper, many thousands of dollars newspaper publications. If that is what is required, then I'm not in favor of it. I am in favor of changing the date certain during the pendency of this current meeting to not create a hardship, but to allow for exactly what Denise suggested, which I was in favor of. And I think I'm entitled to, from time to time, disagree with what the city attorney is opining. He's extraordinarily careful, but we're going to put we have a letter from the association's attorney claiming to represent the association. We will put him on notice. There, in my opinion, is not a risk of jeopardizing the process. However, if it's going to cost thousands of dollars, I'm not going to spend taxpayer dollars in order to do this. That's what I was asking, to just change the hearing date. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, Dr. Marks also asked you for clarification. It seems it gets muddier. It's not really your opinion we're seeking. I've got a motion on the floor. Robert's rules clearly states what we can do and what we can't do. Do we have the time to sufficiently notice it? I voted against it. Bob and I both voted against it. I just want this to be legally appropriate in whatever manner you say, but I'm not sure that Dr. Marks, Commissioner Shelley, and myself, I'm not sure we disagree. I think we're saying the same thing. We don't want to do something that is illegal and that is wrong and that in the end will come back to hurt us. And two of us didn't want it in the first place. So again, I will just say this. We have an attorney. If you don't want to listen to your attorney, it's time to get a new attorney. And that doesn't mean your attorney's always right. But he's giving us very precise information on this point. And I will say we have special meetings almost every other month. So it's nothing unusual for us to have it. What's unusual, if I heard the attorney right, is this was already on something that we passed at this meeting and the interested parties may not be here any longer.
Correct.
You can hear what we're saying, so it wouldn't be like the ones that the city manager schedules or the mayor can schedule according to the charter. The difference is that we've already acted.
That's correct, Mayor. That's exactly the point. And the point is that when the motion to table was made, there was the subsequent determination of the specific date stated. And we have to stick to that date, because to change it now when people may have left or are no longer tuned in, that creates a defect and an infirmity. And it's not the cost, because even if it would have to be re-advertised and remailed, we charge that to the applicant. It's the time crunch. The time is not there to properly notice this. In the past, when we've had special meetings, like we have had some zoning matters on a special meeting, but it's been set up in advance like that. Or when it was tabled on the time it was tabled with the specific special meeting date. So those were unique. This one, I believe we would create a problem. I think the city clerk has something to add to that, Mayor.
Yeah, I've got the city clerk and then Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks.
I can't hear you. We
Can't hear you.
Unmute.
I just wanted to let you know that Mickey Marrero has raised his hand to speak. I didn't know if you wanted him to speak at this time.
Not now. Tell him not to go away. He just, this has to be decided by the commission and he's eligible to speak. And I think Commissioner Mizrahi had something she wanted. Yes? Guys, it's hard for me to see your hands, so just nod your head. Yeah, okay, thank you. Commissioner Mizrahi.
Okay, I just want to say if the whole thing is to get the public to study and be okay with what we want, we need to leave it for July. I'm sorry, Mickey, I'm sorry it's going to be 2 more days, but I think we need to respect the way that we're doing things, especially with a project like this. I also think that they need to get all their association together and talk about this. So they also need their internal time.
This is crazy.
If we want this to move forward, then we have to do it in the right way.
Dr. Marks.
I'm going to ask our city attorney. If I heard correctly earlier in the meeting, you made a statement and you asked the mayor to ensure that we stated the date of the next meeting, because this way we would not have to notice it if in fact we did stated the date at this public meeting. So I want to start with that question. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. It was tabled to a date and time certain so that a new notice and new advertisement would not be needed. People would be bound by the initial notice. But if you alter that now, you're triggering the need for a new notice.
But I also heard you say earlier that Vice Mayor Weinberg could, under item 12, bring this up.
And that's what he has done. He's brought this up now to discuss the meeting time. That's the time for discussion. My opinion didn't change, but he had a right to discuss it. And the mayor appropriately asked, what is the proper part of the agenda? And he was allowed to speak and bring it up. My advice doesn't change. All I'm trying to do is to protect the city.
Yeah, and I'm trying to just understand everything, because now I'm also hearing that, Denise, you felt that the condo association did not have enough time to really go ahead and meet with the developer, correct? Was that one of your, was that an issue? I think Bob mentioned that.
All right.
Mayor,
Wait,
we've already voted on this.
Wait a minute. No, this is a commission meeting, and again, because it's Zoom, I've allowed for some things, but it's not conversation back and forth.
No. What I'm trying to do is just obtain. Yeah, I want to obtain some.
No, you may state your opinion and how you feel about it, and if Commissioner Landman wishes to say something, she can raise her hand.
Okay, so here's my opinion. Here's my opinion. I am afraid, once again, that we did not get proper information. We were not stopped at the time that we were considering this, and we did not get proper information, whether it be from our attorney or our city manager, to say, wait a minute, they did have time. They did have time to meet. This would be the second meeting in a row, and so I'm simply going to make a statement. It is very hard to do my job as a commissioner when at the last meeting, I specifically asked, please stop us and tell us if there's something else we need to know. That's all I have to say.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Who's
I never heard.
City manager has his hand up. He
Yes.
hasn't been recognized.
I'm sorry.
Take a breath. Yes, sir. City manager.
When Commissioner Landman spoke about tabling this item, I did not understand it because there was an issue of people not having proper notice. It was actually just to table it so to give people more of an opportunity to come together. If anybody claimed there was not notice given, I believe me, I would have opened my mouth, because I can tell you, as everybody knows Joanne, how thorough she is, you better believe that notice was given on this item. So please understand, I never heard that comment about, or understood it to mean that proper notice. It was just, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner.
Oh, I think that's fine. Commissioner Landman.
Okay, just to clarify, when I spoke up, it was about listening to the residents and hearing the fact that they needed a little more time. It sounded like they wanted to meet with the developer and hash out some things. It sounded like maybe they didn't see the shade study. Maybe they didn't see this. So to me, and obviously for other commissioners supported it, it was prudent to have a little bit more time for them to come together, go over some of the things, and hopefully at the next time they would all come back and say, hey, look, we looked at it, the facts are there, this is, we feel a lot better about it. So that was my stance to begin with. I agree with the fact that changing the date puts us at a risky situation. I'd love to help the developer whenever we can. We're very friendly, but at this point, I do feel that the advice from our attorney is, the right thing to do, to stick with the process, to let them have the time. I understand this might be a delay, but you know what? Let's do it right. Let's not go back and say, hey, we rushed, that's how I feel. And obviously, I understand they're asking for, to rush this, but I want to make sure that I feel comfortable and hearing the fact that they had the time to do what we voted to table for them to do.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weinberg, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I will save everyone the heartache. I think we got this one wrong, unfortunately, and I tried to make it right. It doesn't appear to be possible at this point. We're already down the road. I will withdraw my motion and we will live with it. But I agree with Dr. Marks. This is the reason why I want to be back in the commission chambers, and I don't think we'd be in this position if we weren't doing a Zoom meeting.
I do too.
But we could have easily accommodated everyone, including being compassionate and giving everyone a chance to be heard, as obviously I voted for Commissioner Landman's motion. But we got this one wrong, waiting for a month for them to meet during an afternoon. But I will withdraw my motion and save everyone the heartache and the further discussion.
Well, thank you. And if I could talk for Bob, I think we were under the impression that they were given proper notice, because we have watched Joanne do her work for 6 years now. And it would be the first time ever that proper notice and all the laws weren't followed. That's why I felt very comfortable that there was plenty of time for meetings to have taken place. And I'm sure it was the same. Commissioner Vice Mayor Weinberg, thank you for withdrawing it at this point in time. I think that the next item of business is I need a motion to adjourn. City Manager?
I can't make a motion to adjourn, but I can tell you the order from the state is Zoom meetings end at the end of June.
Oh, thank God.
Okay.
We tried to get this one
Thank
not
you.
to be Zoom.
Okay.
Bless
But we
you.
couldn't. But remember, that's the order
End on a
today.
good note.
That's the order today. That order may change tomorrow.
Right.
That is true.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Rodsky. Yeah,
before we adjourn, I just wanted to make one more comment.
go ahead.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just
Oh.
kidding.
Please, make a motion. Call the question. Do something.
Go play doubles. Go play doubles.
Oh, and Bob, I do want you to know that and you can tell your guys at Williams Island, they're the reason that doubles was permitted. One of them wrote me a letter, and the city
Really?
manager knows well about it. They said, what does the mayor think? That we're a group of 75-year-olds that are going to jump the net to give each other high fives? We're happy the ball gets over the net. So I quoted it. It was, and Ron can tell you, I guess for my report or before we vote, this has been almost every single day, sometimes twice a day, these conference calls, and whatever you're told, you can be sure it changes. I think at 9:30 last night, I was texting Ron that they changed the curfew yet again.
Yep.
Okay.
What is the curfew?
I will tell you.
There
that
is
the
no
curfew
there's no
on
more
the-
curfew.
There's no
more
except on Miami Beach. There's a curfew from midnight
Yes.
till 5 a.m. Okay,
There is-
but everywhere else we don't have. I think my numbers are right, Ron, but it's hard to. It changes.
There's a few cities that have them, but if it's up to the city if you want to have one. We don't.
So we have no curfew,
No,
Aventura.
right.
And our surrounding cities don't for the most part either. But everybody stay safe.
You too.
This is I think the real dangerous time,
Yes.
because we're all out in public and taking the, so again, wash your hands, do all the things, wear the masks, encourage people to wear the masks, and we'll see you at the workshop. Stay
Yes.
well.
Thank you all.
Right.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Night.
Night.